Hello everybody, welcome to the Sweeney Show, Business and Law podcast. Joining me today is Ciona O'Hanlon, a wellness expert, professional. What's your actual title?
I am a life and wellness coach.
Okay, wow. Well, that sounds really interesting. We're really excited to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So if you want to explain, wellness is so popular at the moment. So what is wellness exactly? What does it actually encompass or cover?
A great question. Wellness is such a hot topic at the moment. And I was thinking about this over the last few days, thinking it would be one of the questions. Yeah. And I suppose wellness, or what I like to call it, is like well-being. My own personal definition of this is when each facet of your life, so your relationships, your career, your health and your finances are very aligned with your spiritual core or centre.
Okay. It's like a balance. Is it everything is it a right
synchronized and kind of flowing. So
okay.
It's when you can actually reach a state in each of these areas in your life where you're getting the most energy fulfillment out of them. So when I'm talking about relationships, I'm not just talking about with other people. Primarily your relationship with yourself, then your relationship with others, and your relationship with a higher source.
That's interesting. So it's like, because people, I think, associate wellness with kind of a spiritual relationship, is it? And like, does God or religion or whatever God might be, is that just one facet of wellness, or is it?
Not really. Like I mean, wellness is to each individual what it is to them. For me personally, yes, it certainly does encompass a lot of spirituality, but that's where I am in my journey and my consciousness. Yeah. Wellness to some other individual could mean literally the physical aspect of it, but I suppose wellness from a holistic point of view encapsulates every area of your life. Okay. Some people just mightn't be at the level with their wellness where spirituality is a factor. Okay. It certainly is a very core part of my being. Yeah,
and you just spoke about your own journey of wellness, your own personal journey. How did you become, or how did you get here to kind of, have a business and you're a wellness professional? How did you get from, I think you were in the beauty industry before.
That's right, yeah. So I suppose, how long have we?
Yeah. I suppose. To take, Mark, have we?
I suppose really, the first time I suppose I really kind of realised or noticed there was something a little bit different about me. I was very, very young. I was always kind of very aware acutely as a child that I was a little bit different, very sensitive. I was always been told, you're very sensitive, toughen up a little bit. And I suppose later in life...
do you mean sensitive, like sympathetic or empathetic to other people's issues, or very sensitive to like the normal day-to-day troubles in life or whatever?
I think probably a little bit deeper. I think you'd notice it in some children. I would have had a tendency to be able to feel other people's kind of emotions. Okay. Not that I could really have articulated as that at the time, yeah. But if someone was kind of sad, or even say my mother or something, I just kind of instinctively and intuitively knew that there was something going on, even if she was telling me I'm fine.
Did you then want to fix that, or was it just that you just felt that it was going on and you could understand there was something wrong?
I think there was always definitely an element of compassion there. Yeah. Probably at the age I was, maybe there wasn't an element of wanting to fix it per se, but there was definitely a huge awareness around other people's emotions. Yeah. So later in life, when I kind of looked into this a little bit further, it kind of transpired that I was a highly sensitive person, or an empath, whichever way people want to. And I suppose from my wellness journey, this has been
But empathy is a good thing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a superpower.
Yeah.
Once you know how to protect yourself in environments that could be threatening to your kind of emotional state or sensitivities. So where were we? My own wellness journey. Yeah. I would have a history of having dealt with depression, which can be a very easy thing for empaths or sensitive people to kind of have a tendency to have a little bit of vulnerability around mental health, because they are quite sensitive to things. So I would have had a few experiences in my life that would have really challenged my emotional and mental well-being. and I would have had a situation after I had my daughter Ciona, where a lot of kind of past trauma was re-triggered. And
So Ciona
is my little girl,
and she's three.
She's 3.5. Yeah, 3.5 going on 33.5. So I would have had kind of like after Ciona, probably undiagnosed postnatal depression.
Okay.
I mean, I was.
That's very common though, isn't it?
Oh, come here, absolutely.
Yeah, like especially the undiagnosed part, probably, that there's a lot of women have.
Come here, I was like a prime candidate to get it. And it would have been one of these kind of mums that was like, you know, super overcautious, wanted everything to be perfect. I breastfed, everything was made organic. I put way too much pressure on myself. Sleep was affected, and all things which contribute towards postnatal as well. I wanted to do everything myself, didn't kind of ask for support, all things that really should be encouraged for women after having their first child. Anyway, ended up, I suppose externally, like, life looked perfect, was portraying the perfect life on social media, outwardly to all my friends. The only people that really knew that there was kind of any bit of an issue was my husband. And he probably didn't really know the extent of it at the time.
But you were also running a business at the time.
Absolutely, So this was my second salon set up, and there were like...
So is it hair and beauty salons or makeup bars?
Hairdressing salon in Ballincollig, all dolled up. And it was the peak of its growth. We were putting on an extension onto the business. It was only open 1.5 years, so there was huge stuff going on behind the scene as well. And I actually went to my doctor at a point. I think Ciona was maybe about coming up around the year and a half mark. My grandmother had just died. She would have been one of my soul guides on earth, very close to her, and just kind of hit rock bottom. Suicidal thoughts. Had lost complete sense of myself, and decided I was going to go to my doctor. Had a chat with my GP. Told her all of this, told her how I was feeling, and her solution for me was to go on a course of antidepressants, which that was a major turning point and trigger for me in my life, that this was the Irish Medical Care's answer to resolving someone who was suicidal. So took the prescription, went out to my car. It was a very grey, rainy, traditional January afternoon, and spent about half an hour in my car crying, saying, is this actually the solution to my problems? And I said, no, this just isn't good enough for me. So that kind of really spurred my journey onto kind of looking for more holistic avenues for me to explore. I did spend a period...
Where do you start in that journey? So, like, obviously you feel the medical options out there, like, and it does seem to be that now obviously every case is case specific,
course,
and
absolutely.
there's fantastic doctors out there, and they're all working hard, and the HSE, and we won't get into all that kind of stuff, but it does seem that the easy solution for a doctor is to write a prescription of some kind of up or down or whatever it might be, or else is that the last option for a doctor? We don't really know specifically each patient, that maybe they have been through a process and doctors, this is the only option. But it seems to be quite prevalent in Ireland at the moment, because we kind of, like in anything, don't we get kind of lifestyle choices from America? Like America is so drug filled and fueled over the last 10 years. It seems to be travelling to the UK and now to Ireland, where people of all ages, from teenagers to people in their 60s and 70s, in my view and what I can see, are taking antidepressants and all this. So how does someone kind of stop that pathway and step into kind of a wellness option, or where did they get these options, or how can you actually even decide that this might be a solution for me, or even an option I want to try before medication?
Yeah, good question. Like, I suppose it really comes down to the individual. I had tried antidepressants in my late teenage years, and for me it just wasn't something that personally suited me. I felt very numb. I'm being an empath, I'm used to feeling stuff, and I'd rather feel something than nothing at all. It didn't work for me personally. There's a brilliant podcast a while ago about sleep and all, and having good sleep and your quality of sleep, and how sleep is beneficial to your life and everything. And that alcohol and all these stimulants, even though there's a process, this is like really simplifying it, that when you go to sleep, there's
there's 2 or 3 levels you get to your deep sleep. That when you take
Absolutely.
alcohol or drugs, it skips the first level, so you get to a deep sleep since you think you've had a great sleep. You're tricking your body, but actually the day after you're worse because your body hasn't gone through that natural progression.
Absolutely.
So while you might still be getting 6, 7, 8 hours sleep because it's alcohol or drug or whatever it might be, your body's you're not on the right balance.
Absolutely, like sleep's a massive part of any mental health recovery,
Yeah,
really.
but natural sleep, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
like in that deep kind of like, as you said, that intermediate phase of the sleep where your body actually does all its natural healing and stuff.
Yeah.
When you are taking things, that does get skipped.
Yeah.
So I suppose for me myself, like, you know, being a mother of a now 3.5-year-old and stuff, and like I really had to kind of have a good think to myself. That was probably one of the lowest points in my life, and my first port of call for getting help was actually, you know, I actually just can't land all of this on my husband's shoulders anymore. This was my second time being in a suicidal tendency and state in my life, and thankfully something just resonated with me saying you need to get external help. So I actually spent a period of time in Pieta House, and that for me was the light at the end of the tunnel. That's where kind of, I suppose, I was really given a sense of space held for me to allow myself to process what I was feeling in a very non-judgmental capacity, and start to explore other possibilities of things that may resonate for me, which I did. I just started to integrate and introduce things slowly but surely into my life that I felt would help me on my road to recovery. I love learning. I'm a total academic and nerd, so you know, reading up on books on all different types of alternative medicines.
Okay, and is that like different cultures around the world and different people?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I get a lot of inspiration from like indigenous tribes and stuff, where they're very community based, natural healers.
Do they not have Facebook or the internet there now?
Yeah.
But isn't that what look when you actually peel it back?
Totally.
Isn't it really to like
Absolutely.
a way of life that's kind of just where you are in the present right now, and deal with the person in front of you and your decisions that you make from when you get up to you go to bed at night?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, I suppose that's really a fundamental thing with any kind of mental health issue, is that you're so disconnected from the present moment, be it whether you're dealing with depression, where it can be very much looking back and reflecting on past events and wishing and not accepting where they were, or anxiety, where you're very much future based and you're concerned. You're very rarely living in the here and now, which is the only time we actually all really have. You know, so my whole wellness journey kind of really, if I look at it holistically, has all really centered back into me being present here moment to moment. You know, day to day, and has actually ended up resulted in being like
that I think that just leads to a happier life, doesn't it?
Because oh my goodness, like, and you know what, this search for happiness that everyone is looking for, it's something that I've really been pondering the last few months, especially since I've started working with clients in their lives and revolutionising kind of strategies in their lives back to everyone's looking for this ultimate state of happiness, which happiness is an emotion and a state of being, just like sadness. It's very transient. What I actually think people are searching for is freedom, like freedom from the constraints of being in inner turmoil, in conflict, in not living in the here and now and not being present, kind of worrying about the future, lamenting over the past. It's the freedom from that to just actually be content in the here and now, irrespective of what comes up in life, which I think I'm kind of there. And that doesn't mean to say that I don't experience periods in my life that you know might upset me and stuff.
But you have the tools now to cope with it better.
I'm very much okay in that space.
Yeah, and is that what wellness is? It kind of gives you the tools. Like it is, just I don't know so you have your own business now and you're coaching people through wellness, how to kind of, is it better their lives through, like is it to do with their professional lives, personal lives? It's the whole package.
Everything, really.
What's then a typical person? Is it someone like, everyone seems to be busier at the moment, everyone seems more frenetic, like the recession is over, it's not over, people are working harder, they're working longer, we're all attached to our phones, so no one's actually leaving the office. You have email, you have every kind of social media on your phone. Like how, if is that a typical person that comes to you then to say, listen, Cliona, I'm not sure, I just need some kind of mental escape or balance here, like what do I have to do to kind of get out of this?
Yeah, like I suppose what I'm finding at the moment where I am with the people I seem to be working with, I suppose it's all masked with, you know, I want to achieve this or I want to, but like fundamentally, like when you peel it all back, there's very much a sense of what I call the most afflicted disease affecting humanity of I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, comparison, not being content. Very.
Yeah, my wife has a great phrase, comparison is the thief of joy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, as you said, like the whole constant connection to an online world, a digital world, where like, you know, we're seeing images of the perfect body and, you know, the perfect life.
I've never actually seen a bad photograph on Instagram.
You know,
there's so much imaging and editing and everything,
half these people don't even look like themselves, you know, it's so disconnected from reality that, you know, we're giving, you know, people such a false illusion of the perception of what's the norm, that people are so disconnected from and in touch with who they kind of really are.
And I think also, I think we spoke about just beforehand, like the age profile of social media, especially kind of Instagram, is kind of late teens to mid 20s, and like that's a real impressionable part of anybody's life.
Absolutely.
So sorry, I actually saw something on your own Instagram page. I know we're actually talking about the evils of Instagram, but is it Ciona O'Hanlon Wellness?
Yeah.
And you started to do a switch off Sunday. Is
Absolutely,
that
yeah. So I was saying this kind of happened by accident one Sunday. I spent a lot of time down in West Cork and Garrettstown with my family. Love being by the ocean. It's so magical, really, really healing. And there's very little reception down there. And one Sunday I just couldn't get it. So I was like, do you know what, I'm just going to turn my phone off for the day. It was probably one of the most memorable days I've spent down there. I felt so in tune with who I was. I was very present in each moment. I found I was very, like, I wasn't distracted by anything. Very in the moment, really, you know, having great memories that, you know, may seem insignificant to other people, but very present with my daughter and just seeing little things that I may have kind of gone unnoticed if a phone was kind of in close proximity.
Your phone or scrolling or whatever you might be doing.
Absolutely. And I mean, Ciona's 3.5 now, and I was only looking back at photographs of her during the week and looking at images of her when she was, you know, 3 or 4 months, thinking that time just went so quickly, and it just really resonated and rang true with me, like the importance of actually cultivating those moments and time in our lives to be so present with the people we love, you know.
It's a hard thing to do, but I actually think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
I think it's fantastic because like if we can't have time to kind of connect with the people around us, like like what is the phone? It's just a device, but you can choose to turn the device off and choose to be present.
Absolutely.
Just on wellness, and I think that, like, we spoke of spirituality, but meditation, is that part of wellness or an ambit of wellness as well, or how does that come into under the wellness umbrella?
Massively. Like meditation was probably the biggest turning point for me in my recovery journey, when I was giving myself that sense of, I suppose, space to just be. So like the whole purpose of meditation is to be able to create space between yourself and thought. Anytime I'm speaking to people about meditation, like I will always say it's a meditation practice. And I'd always like to give the analogy, because people say, oh, I tried that before, I'm no good at meditation. It's a practice for a reason. You wouldn't go into a gym having never lifted a weight in your life expecting to bench 100 kg. That's just, I mean, it's a bit unrealistic. Meditation's the exact same. It's something that kind of takes a bit of time to build up, to get into.
And what, just practically, is it just, you just really just sit down, find some quiet space or something, and just
I mean,
relax?
there's lots of different ways you can do it. I mean, there are a lot of apps now that do meditation, such as like Headspace, Calm, Yoga Glow.
Actually, I see the Calm one. It's very good. It just says do nothing for 15 seconds, or whatever it might be. Follow the circle.
Or you know, if it was even someone who was kind of, you know, getting into meditation, even spending 5 minutes a day just focusing on your breathing. You know, doing an inhalation, following your breath, watching where it kind of expands, holding on to it for a couple of seconds and letting it go, and just following that kind of cycle. Your thoughts naturally will going to drift off. We're, like, as we said earlier, we're in a in a world now where we're so switched on that it's trying to create a little bit of a lull and a switch off from those thoughts so that we can start becoming the observer.
Brings you back into the present again, is it?
Absolutely. So what that does then is it builds up resilience in times of kind of high stress or turbulence in your life, that you can kind of sit and be with what comes up and not really attach to it.
Yeah.
So
and is physical exercise then, does that come under it as well?
Oh, massively. Like it would be, I'd have a baseline of getting to the gym 4 times a week.
Okay.
Anything more than that's a bonus.
Is that like you do like a workout where you sweat or at a certain time, so you just kind of get the endorphins going?
Yeah, for like what resonates, I love weightlifting. That's what works for me. If I was to say to someone else with regards, it could be a walk in the park, it could be rollerblading, it could be going to a Tai Chi class, yoga, I do yoga as well. But like with wellness, really, like it's whatever is going to resonate with people on an individual level. What'll work for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So it's finding things that like you like doing, enjoying, and introducing them into your life. Nutrition plays a huge part as well. I have an event later this year, and I'm bringing on one of the panelists specifically around nutrition to talk about gut health and how that actually affects your mental health. The serotonin that's created in the gut, which then travels to the brain, your happy, your feel good hormones, and like how your food really affects kind of how you feel. Changing my diet was a massive turning point as well for me in becoming more well.
Because like we live in such a fast environment. We want fast food and just convenience, and it's usually high sugar, calorie. Just get it in here, get you going again. And so was there a conscious decision then to change your diet away from that type of food and to kind of like are you vegetarian or vegan or anything?
I am a vegetarian. I have been for about 2 years. That was just a conscious ethical choice of mine. It did, like when I was starting to kind of become more aware of my eating and stuff like that, I kind of recognised in me when I ate kind of large quantities of meat, it just didn't really settle well with me in my body. We could do a whole other podcast on the meat industry and stuff like that, but I won't go too into it. Just for me personally, like when I watched a few documentaries and knowing a lot of what can go on in the meat industry, not all, because I know there are a lot of ethical farmers out there who raise cattle and to be very loved animals and stuff, which that's totally fine. It just, I felt better in myself not consuming meat.
But then was there a knock-on effect that the type of then food that you used to kind of supplement the proteins you would have got from meat, did that have an effect then on your well-being or anything like that, do you think?
Colossally. Like I suppose I made that decision in hindsight, very in jest. I just kind of cut meat out of my diet without looking into the repercussions of what I was going to do to myself, and not supplementing, things like iron and B12 and stuff, which impacted my energy levels massively. I had very low iron levels, which kind of contributed towards kind of fatigue and low energy and stuff. But once I kind of like adjusted that and spoke to a good nutritionist about how we can integrate foods to support one another, grand new again. Fine.
So I think that from what we spoke about here, that's certainly like a holistic approach to like well-being. I kind of understand it more now just after a chat.
Totally. And there are other elements to it too, like things like integrating fun. We live in such a as I say, switched on world where everything is go 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 go. Like at the end of the day, we're human beings, we're not human doings. We need to like be a little bit more and incorporate like a little bit more fun, connection with people, even sitting down having conversation about things we're interested with other people. Like, these are important parts of our well-being also. Spend a lot of time out in nature, reconnecting with the outdoor world. There's
simple things.
Absolutely,
out and walk, well, this has been a really interesting conversation. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable to share your story and so brave to tell everybody. If someone wants to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing it? What's the way to contact you?
I'm probably most contactable on my Instagram page. It's Ciona O'Hanlon Wellness. I'm also on Facebook, Ciona O'Hanlon.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure to have you here, and the best luck with everything.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Cheers.